to Who's Event Insider Session Series. I want to thank everyone for joining us here today. And I also would like to start off by introducing myself to everyone here. My name is Jocelyn. I'll be the host and moderator for today. And I'm actually very delighted to see everyone who is tuning in here. In this Event Insider panel, the topic we will discuss is boosting efficiency, software tools for associations. So our guest speakers, who will join us in just a few moments, will be here to share and discuss some tips and practices to source and evaluate the software tools to best use in your associations. Now, in the days leading up to today's session, we opened 4 session polls for everyone to answer. The polls are still available for you all to have the opportunity to submit your response and share your thoughts for the polls that we have here. But before we start the panel discussion, I do want to share the submitted responses we have so far, as these are some of the topics that we will cover with our guest speakers. The first poll question we ask our participants is, in addition to a general association management software tool, for what other dedicated items do you utilize a dedicated software for? So far, as you can see here in the chart, the popular responses so far are event management software, as well as email marketing software tools, coming in with 30% of the responses. Following that, it is the financial management software is coming in here in second, with 20% of the votes. And then following that, it is the courses training software, as well as the collaboration project management software, tied with 10% of the votes here. So it looks like everyone kind of uses a different mix of software tools within their associations. So thank you for sharing your thoughts for this poll question. And then the second poll question we ask is, which association management software is your organization currently using? And as you can see here in our list, some of you have submitted a couple of software tools. So we see Whova is being mentioned here, Member 365, Your Membership, Wild Apricot, Office 360, GlueUp, Very Connect. Some of them are just starting out, so this workshop is very timely. So I'm really great to hear that maybe we can provide some insight on letting you all know on deciding which software tools could be best for your association. And others have said that they currently do not use any tools so far, or association management softwares within their organization. And then the third question we asked our audience is, how much of your annual budget do you allocate for all types of software tools combined? And as you can see here in our chart, a couple of responses here coming in, and starting with the popular option is, with 50% of the votes, is 5 to 10K of your allocated budget goes to software tools. Following that, with 25% of the votes, associations say that they allocate $2,000 to $5,000 from their budget to these software tools. And then tied with 13% of the votes, others say that they use either 10K to 20K of their annual budget for software tools. And then the others mentioned that they use somewhere between $20,000 to $50,000 from their annual budget to spend on software tools. So it looks like everyone has a little mixed batch here, as well, to how much they are spending for their software tools. And then the final question that we have here as well is, what do you want to get the most out of today's session? And as you can see here, we are sharing some of those responses that have come in. So I'll read those, and that is how to train staff to use the app, ideas for areas our associations could be more streamlined, better understand the software needed by an organization, more knowledge of what is out there to be used. And then another one is better membership management software. And we also have one that says we use Whova for conferences, but need one platform for event and member management. So looking for other software tools to use in your organization is something that you are all trying to get out of today's session, as well as how to become more streamlined in your organizations. So thank you all for sharing here and submitting your responses for these poll questions. And then on another note, I do want to take this moment to give this announcement to our audience. To let you all know that on August 5th through the 8th, HUVA will be attending as an exhibitor the 2023 American Society of Association Executives Annual Meeting and Exposition. This will be held in the Georgia World Congress Center. So if there are any of our audience members planning to attend this event, our team would love for you all to stop by the HUVA booth, as we will be there as an exhibitor to be showcasing a little bit about the platform. So again, if any of our audience members are planning to join, as shown on our screen, our team will have a special gift for our customers. So if you plan to attend, please stop by and say hello to at our booth, as you will get a little fun HUVA gift, as we will also would love to meet you all in person. If you're interested in viewing more content for event organizers, subscribe to our channel, where we will continue to upload interviews with top event professionals and new content on the latest event industry trends. It is now time to begin the panel discussion and introduce our guest speakers. The first guest speaker I have here on the virtual stage is Blake Stenning. Blake is the Director of Communications for the Public Housing Authorities Director Association. Blake, thank you so much for being here. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, thank you very much. Really pleased to be here today. I think this should be a very lively discussion. Really interested to see the poll responses too. So hopefully some of those things that people want to get out of this we'll be able to cover today, and you'll come away with something useful. So just a quick kind of background. So I work for a trade association called FADA, and our members are made up of housing authorities across the U.S. Our members manage over 1.9 million units of affordable housing for low-income, disabled, and elderly Americans. And the work that our association itself does is primarily focused on advocating on behalf of our members before Congress and HUD. We do a lot of information and policy analysis, as well as professional development. We are a small staff association. We have 9 full-time staff. So software technology is very important to our operations. We rely on it heavily to help serve our members' needs. My own role as the communications director, I really do have a hand in almost every facet of our organization's operations, from marketing communications to member management and our website. So I definitely get it. I have a pretty good feel for our software needs, and in fact I was pretty involved in the first couple of years that I worked here with integrating the whole new systems that most of our members thought I was the CIO instead of the communications director. So definitely involved for better or for worse in our software offering. So Aaron, pleased to be here. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Blake. So it looks like you do have some experience in kind of sourcing and evaluating the best software tools for your association. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing your insight here. And then our second speaker to join us is Lisa Gaudette. Lisa is the Administrative Director at the Society for the Study of Emerging Adulthood. Lisa, thank you so much for tuning in here and being our guest speaker. Do you also want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Thank you, Jocelyn, for inviting me. I really appreciate that. I've learned so much lately about HUVA. It's been a great tool for our organization. So I'm coming out of Worcester, Massachusetts. I work at Clark University. I work as the Director of Sponsor Programs and Research. So that is a grants office here. But on the side, I do work for a small nonprofit, and that's SSEA, the Society for the Study of Emerging Adulthood. It's primarily made up of members who are faculty, grad students, and students, some psychologists, and they study emerging adults, who are people between the ages of 18 and 29. So it's really interesting. And every 2 years we have a conference. We have a biennial conference, and this will be our 3rd time using HUVA. When it's been fantastic for us. It's really moved it's moved everything along for us to become more efficient. And so, yeah, we're very small. We have maybe 400 to 500 members at one time. The only person in the office that does administrative work is me. So I need the tools to succeed, and I need anything to help between my already busy work that I do during the day. I need something to help make the part-time work also, which becomes full-time work during conference season. So yeah, but thank you for inviting me, and I appreciate anything I can do to help. I'm happy to.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing here, Lisa. You know, even with your experience, it looks like you can also bring some great insight to, you know, what a really small team or a one-person team will actually need to succeed and kind of have a streamlined operation. So looking forward to also hearing your insights here, Lisa. And then finally, our third guest speaker to the stage is Diana Hakenholz, and then Diana is the Director of Meetings and Education, Association of Collegiate Conference and Event Directors International. So Diana, thank you so much for tuning in here today as a guest speaker. And also, I also want to take this moment to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for inviting me to be on the panel. I'm very excited to hear from the people tuning in, as well as my fellow panelists as well, always looking to expand my knowledge on these topics as well. As you mentioned, I worked for the Association of Collegiate Conference and Events Directors International. We have about 1,500 members, and they work on college campuses. So they are the ones that are bringing in meetings and conferences. Summertime is very busy for them, where they have a lot of space. In terms of conferences, they will work with anything from, you know, the camps, be it sports, cheerleading, band. They bring in outside groups, other associations, religious organizations, things like that onto campus, and utilize those resources as kind of a conference center. They have the residence halls and the dining facilities, but then throughout the school year, besides smaller conferences, they are also handling a lot of the events that happen on campuses, the commencements, student move-ins, homecomings, inaugurations, you name it. So they are very busy folks on their collegiate campuses. I am the Director of Meetings and Education. So my main focus is putting together our annual conference, all of our other professional development opportunities, as well as working with our certification program, the Collegiate Conference and Events Professional. Like Blake, we are a fairly small staff. We have 5 full-time people. So much like his position, we are in need of solutions that will really help us streamline, since we have a lot on our plates, all of us do.
All right, thank you for that, Diana. Sorry, my microphone was, you know, kind of off, so I was about to speak and I just noticed that I was on mute. But thank you so much for sharing here, Diana, a little bit more about your association as well. And I want to thank all our panelists here for sharing about yourselves and your associations. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing what you all have to say and your insight for today's topic. So we're going to go ahead and start off right off the bat and start with the software tools for member management. So I want to explore the tools to best streamline your membership management. So the first question I have for you all is, what are the key features and functionalities associations should consider when selecting a software platform for member management? So Diana, I'm going to go ahead and return to you for this question.
Well, for our staff, we are all heavily involved in deciding which membership management tool we should go with. So we had to look at something that worked well for a small staff, where we could do our separate pieces very well, but that they could also work very well together. You know, our director of membership was very concerned with how the member experience would be for people renewing and joining, our marketing and communications. with the website and that connection for us, since we don't have a separate web content person on board, and I with the events process. So for us in functionality, we needed it to be able to do everything we needed, and for our members to have everything in one place for them as well. So kind of a one login, and be able to access anything they need from us. So those were really the key pieces for us when we were on the search for our platform, and we are using your membership currently.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for sharing here, Diana. So a centralized place for a lot of things to work on is something, a key feature here. And then Blake, I'm going to turn to you. What do you look for? What other considerations do you look for a membership management software?
Sure. Well, so we did migrate to a new AMS about 5 years ago. Prior to that, our entire AMS management, our member management, was an Excel spreadsheet, and it was a separate website that was hard coded probably a decade beforehand and was dated even then. So we really began this process of starting from like a blank sheet, and AMSs at that time had evolved tremendously from their kind of early development. They're even different today, but similarly, like Diana, we were looking for a single source where all of our data could be contained and accessed. It was very important for our members to have a seamless interaction, whether it was from the website, whether they were managing their own accounts, their own profiles, or their organizational profiles, for event registration, purchasing of like publications. All of that had to be seamless. And so we did go with an AMS. At the time, it was called Member Connection. It's I think it goes by ClearVantage now. It's an all-in-one website AMS. And it's worked really well for us. There's no perfect solution out there. Nothing is going to do everything you want, and the needs evolve over time as you exploit the system and see what's possible. So we, in fact, this year, just a few months ago, had a 5-year check-in with our AMS, with our vendor, and we talked about, here are the things that have really been working well for us. Here are the things that some pain points. And here's where we want to go with this, and how can we get there? So I think a very important consideration when making this move, because it's such a large undertaking, is you really need to have a partner. Your AMS needs to be a partner of yours. They need to understand your organization inside and out. They need to be somebody you can go to that can answer questions, depending upon what your needs are. For us, we needed a person to talk to. We didn't want to do it all via email or online portals. So, that was very important, that we felt like this was almost an extension of our staff that we could work with, to really, again, make sure that we were getting what we needed, and when problems arise, that someone could help us solve those problems. So it's generally worked very well for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Blake. And I appreciate you kind of sharing a little bit of what are some of the key things that you would need to consider for a association membership management software. So thank you for that. And then Lisa, I'm going to also ask you, do you have any other details that you would like to mention for this question?
Sure. Just to make sure that your AMS fits all your needs. So the system that we use now, I'm very unhappy with. So I've been doing work for the organization for over 10 years now, and this was put in place about a year before that when we became a nonprofit. And it's very clunky. We get a lot of complaints, maybe not a lot of complaints. We do get complaints from our membership. We use Wild Apricot, and we use it for our events planning. We use it for member tracking. I pull financials from there. but there are a lot of limitations, and there are a lot of, I'd say, errors that I have to fix because the system doesn't always work properly. If somebody lapses their membership, it'll continue to charge them for those years that they're lapsed, even though or if they decide not to be a member that year and jump a year, it'll still charge them for those years. So there's a lot of manual fixes. So just for anyone, if you're looking for an AMS, to just be aware to if you're using it as a case management system, to make sure it fits all your needs, because we are in the process of jumping off of it and going to a different system.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Lisa. I appreciate some of your feedback here. And then from those considerations you all previously mentioned, I have another question is of what are your recommendations for cost-effective platforms that can offer a little bit of a robust member management capabilities? So I know Lisa mentioned about fitting your needs, but can you also kind of go over some of those cost-effective formats to fit your needs? So Blake, I'm going to start with you first.
Sure. So the AMS we went with was absolutely that was a big consideration for us, was cost effectiveness. As a small association, you know, we never really had a budget for this beforehand. Like I said, we were using Excel before. So we in fact worked with a tech consultant to help us determine what would be a reasonable budget, what you know, to help manage those expectations and see what was available to us. So we went with again, our AMS was called Member Connection. It's now, I think, changed. You know, I think they were a subsidiary of Euclid, and they've, I think, broadened their service offering. So now it's all called ClearVantage, but it's basically a turnkey system. So we found that to be very cost effective. So we didn't have to worry about would the CMS, the website, talk to the AMS. You know, we know all those pieces work, so that was very important to us. And you know, and it has worked out well. There are a lot of systems now and new APIs and integrations of different technologies, so you could probably find different things and have them play nice together that you couldn't do even 5 years ago. But you know, I think for a small association, those one-stop shop AMS website integrated systems do work pretty well if you can, again, have a good partner with your vendor.
Thank you so much for sharing here, Blake. And then Diana, I'm going to turn to you to ask you if you have any other recommendations for cost-effective platforms.
No, I think Blake really hit all the main points for us as well. As I mentioned previously, you know, that one-stop shop kind of AMS system that, you know, had everything we needed from the member experience on their profiles, how easy it is for them to fill out forms, to join, to register for events, for those in the certification program to track their professional development. You know, so to have all of that inclusive into one package is a very beneficial thing. And with the templates for the website, so you don't need, you know, a web master per se to develop your website, and then the ease of that connection, since it's going through the AMS, makes things so much simpler.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing here, Diana. And then Lisa, do you have any other recommendations that we didn't cover?
We're the same. Streamline, consolidating all your systems in one, and safety. That's become an important issue, is keeping our members safe and saving them time and making things efficient for them. And what we have now is limited, so we don't have that. We don't have that the interaction they get the other, like Diana was talking about, having, they can track their performance or track their membership throughout. We don't have something like that. That's important for our members.
Thank you so much for that, Lisa. So one-stop shop, it looks like it, and something that is within your budgets, and finding out what your budget should be is something pretty crucial to keep in mind when finding this membership software tools. So now that we discussed some of these crucial features, I do want to ask you all if you have any additional tools or platforms for member recruitment, member onboarding, engagement, and community building. So Diana, do you have anything else that you use aside from the association management software?
Well, within the association management software, I know I briefly touched on it. We do have our own certification program. So again, that's been a very useful thing where I can schedule emails based on each individual designees, expiration dates, things like that. So things are just automatically going out. I know that works as well for the membership. We also have a pretty good online community options through our AMS system, which is a way our members are always able to stay connected with each other on those community boards, asking those important questions. But ancillary, our Facebook groups are still very popular with our membership and the social media with Instagram and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. So in terms of that membership connection, those have been really useful for us.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing here, Diana. It's really interesting to see that social media has become a tool for membership building and community building. So thank you for that. And then Blake, what about you?
Yeah, so certainly we've been exploring more of trying to develop some online communities. We haven't done a lot of it to date, but we do have a certification program that we do in conjunction with Rutgers University, and the graduates of that program, we created an invitation-only LinkedIn group for them. It's still fairly new, but we're hoping to expand that and see if we've definitely we've surveyed alumni. There's a strong interest for that. They're looking for that kind of platform where they can continue to collaborate, to share stories, learn from each other. So we are hopeful that will provide some of what they're looking for.
So thank you for that here, Blake, for sharing, and best of luck with that new project and initiative. And then moving on to this next section, this is about financial management. And the first question that I have for you is if you can share some tips to effectively manage membership dues, donations, sponsorship, and other sources of income. So Blake, I'm going to come back to you for this question. Do you want to share some of your tips?
Sure, of course. This is an area where I'm not as involved in terms of managing the financial management side of it. But again, with our AMS, they recently, I guess in the last maybe year and a half, launched a financial component called Euclid Pay. So we had been using like a third party for credit card processing, but this now allows all of that to be within the AMS. And it has been very helpful because one, being able to receive payments and track them, it's all in the system. We can, it's very helpful with like reporting in particular. So we can track transactions from members, from whether it's dues, event registrations. We can track that to either the the organization or even the individual level. So that's been very helpful. We recently launched an all digital publication that in terms of the managing the sales of these publications. It's done through the AMS. There's another platform that actually hosts the publication. But again, working with our AMS vendor, we talked a lot about this. They helped us really get something set up so that, again, it's a seamless thing for members. So we can handle the payment, the billing, and the access for members through this, again, this financial management component of our AMS. So that's worked well for us.
Great, thank you for that, Blake. And then I'm going to turn to Lisa. Do you have any other tips for how to effectively managing these sources of income?
So as a small nonprofit, all of our membership fees get turned around and go right into our conference fees. So it's important for me to keep track of what we have to spend and what we have as our needs. So while Epicot has the option of pulling down reports, and I'll pull them down into an Excel spreadsheet, and from there I can play with my numbers and figure out what my totals are, how my accounting is. So that's one of the things that's most important to me is managing that piece and tracking and reporting. Plus I report to our leadership and they want to see, how things are with our financials.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Lisa. And then as we did get some tips on how to manage that stream of income coming in from your associations, the next question I have is, how do you improve those expense trackings? I know Lisa just mentioned that you have to report, particularly to your leadership. So for projects or event-specific expenses, how are your practices to improve those tracking expenses? So Diana, being the director of, meetings and conferences and educational gatherings, I do want to kind of start with you for this question to see if you have any best practices to keep when doing event-specific expenses.
Yes, so we still do our budget submittals to our executive director on Excel sheet on our expectations for the coming year in terms of both revenue and expenses. On the revenue side, as those registrations come in, it's very easy to pull up, what that amount is through the AMS. But I just keep a separate track personally as I know things are coming in. And those all get sent to the accountant, and then I am able to talk with her, get her reports. I believe she uses QuickBooks on those P&Ls and everything like that. So to be in that constant contact and tracking and making sure nothing was missed in terms of an outstanding invoice or a refund we're supposed to get or anything like that. So for me, it's just, being a one-person department, just a very easy way for me to still track it in that way.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Diana. And then Lisa, since you're also kind of like you're kind of like a one-woman show for your association, do you have any comments for this question?
Just that I regularly use the Excel spreadsheets, and I keep I have access database that I also do some tracking in. So we don't have a lot of money coming in, so it's just mostly just keeping track of our financials. I do a daily check and check our banking accounts, and I do reports and see how much money is coming from our membership. We do have people that pay membership daily, and we just had a conference, so the conference brought in some money that'll get turned back into putting a deposit down for our next conference. So I keep these tallies going, and just so I can report to our leaders.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Lisa. So, kind of doing constant checkups, constant reporting, kind of doing your, active bookkeeping to keep all your expenses in order and everything is online for the accounting side as well. So thank you for sharing here, Lisa. And then Blake, do you have anything else to share?
Yeah, so one of the things that we will track is our non-dues revenue. So we sell advertising in a print newsletter that we publish every 2 weeks. And we've actually been keeping that as an Excel spreadsheet because it needs to be accessed by myself, our member director, and our outside accounting firm. So when we have a contract signed for like an annual advertising in the newsletter, we'll break it out into each issue, and that's how our accounting firm wants to be able to track those for reporting and audits. So yeah, it's simple Excel, shared in Teams, but it's accessible by the people and it's locked down so that only the people that need to access it can access it. But again, just one more way that we're tracking our specific expenses for non-dues revenue.
Great. for that, Blake. So it looks like the popular tool that you all use for your financial tracking and expenses tracking is Excel. So thank you all for sharing here a little bit about that here for this section. So now that we covered the tools needed for some membership management and financial management, I want to turn to the next topic, which is about team collaboration and productivity. So I'm going to ask you all, do you adopt software tools to improve project management, task delegation, and team communications? And Blake, I'm going to come back to you for this question.
Yeah, so we use Teams. Prior to the pandemic, like months before it, we migrated over to Office 365. As a small staff association, we all worked in the office. There was never any option to work remotely. But as it became clear that there might be some kind of disruption coming, I just started to poke around in Teams and saw that it could actually work well for us if we had to, work remotely. And so we have a technology consultant who does some work just like doing maintenance. And we asked him if they could do some training on Teams for us so that, we would be able to if we had to remote work for, a couple of weeks, that it would work, that we'd be able to. And it's actually, we have, it's what a great tool that has been, and we've made so much good use of it, not just for collaboration of video conferencing, but just sharing documents, that's been a huge part. And in fact, I think we've become much more cross-departmentally collaborative because of this than we used to when we sat in offices next to each other. Like Teams has been, it just seems like that was custom tailored for how we work.
Great, thank you for sharing here, Blake. It's great to hear that you found a tool that has helped, your team to be, more effectively in communication as well as, project management. And then Diana, I'm gonna ask you same question. Do you adopt software tools to improve your project management, task delegation, and team communication?
Yes, for us, we mainly use Asana for our projects. It works very well where we can just add whoever's working on each particular project, put together those timelines so everybody knows what's coming up, what needs to be done by a certain date, and who's responsible for those items, and be able to comment and organize ourselves that way. So we're able to do it for each event, for awards, for any of those big projects that we have throughout the year. In addition to that, Canva for our marketing and communications director is huge, and she'll do a lot of her creative things in Canva and then let us know through Asana when they're ready for us to log in, look at, comment. So it's just been a really great hub for a lot of the work that we do throughout the year. In addition to that, we do also will use Google Jamboard, which is just like a big whiteboard that kind of takes us back when we all were in the office together. We are a fully remote office now. We were thinking of doing that before COVID, and COVID just finally pushed us over that edge. But we would have this big whiteboard in the office where we could, look at things in terms of applications coming in, nominations coming in, whatever. So we still have that virtual whiteboard available to all of us for those tasks as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Diana. And it's kind of interesting to see how you and Blake have different types of practices regarding, team collaboration and project management, and as well as with the tools that you're using. So everyone, kind of finds their own tools that help within their needs. So I know you all, both you, Blake, and Diana, you mentioned a little bit about remote work, and Diana, you just mentioned that COVID kind of put that push to kind of do a full remote work environment. So I know the pandemic pushed some associations on that way and have stayed this way, so as like you and Blake probably are. So my question for you both is, how can software tools assist associations in facilitating remote work and virtual collaboration? So Blake, I know you mentioned Microsoft Teams being a great resource for you. Do you have anything else for this question?
No, Teams has really been great. And in fact, Diana was mentioning Asana, where we were looking into that for some project management, and Teams has like their version of it now called Tasks. And so we decided we're gonna explore that a little bit first, since it's already built into the our system. So for us, I think we try to make as much use of the tools that we have with the tools that we already have available to us, because it's if we're trying something new, then it's easier to learn the workflow that's there than trying an outside and then having to if it doesn't work, then you have to try and figure out something new that also integrates with your other existing system. So that's always a consideration for a small staff where we don't have a dedicated technology person, and we're all stretched thin doing wearing many hats. We need something to be able to work and work quickly. So as much as things are already exist, and as much as there are tools that are already in our existing tech stacks, that's what we try and employ first.
Great, thank you for that, Blake. So leveraging your existing software platform and finding and exploring all the features that they have available to kind of use for your remote work and collaboration. So and then Diana, I also saw you nodding your head here a little bit, so I want to ask you as well if you do have anything else to say for this question.
For us, it was always finding those cost-effective solutions, finding those that you have that free version to test out for a while first before if you want to take that next step with whatever program it is you are using, and just taking the time to play with it. But being fully remote, Zoom has also been a big thing for us to have, to be able to quickly get on a Zoom with one or two or the whole staff to do those check-ins, to be able to share screens, see everything at the same time. So for us being fully remote, it really hasn't changed much in the way that we work. I think that helps being such a small office that many times there would only be one or two of us in the office based on travel schedules or whatever was happening anyway. And prior to the pandemic, we had already made sure we had virtual servers so we could work anywhere we were on our collaborative databases and things like that. So just continuing to use those tools that are available to us.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Diana. And then Lisa, I know you are kind of relatively a one-person team, but do you have anything else that you would like to kind of mention for this question, for making it collaborative?
Sure. I mean, we've been virtual since day one. So for 12, 13 years now, we've been having to connect virtually. So we've been using Zoom for the last few years. We have group emails. We use constant contact for our communication. I do have to communicate regularly. We have a president-elect, and then we have a past president and executive director. So that's our leadership. So we do connect daily, and that's usually by email or Zoom. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, thank you for that, Lisa. And then besides some of the daily operations within your associations, keeping track of all those things with your memberships, events are probably another additional but critical component in some of your association duties. So many associations utilize dedicated software for event management like Huba instead of other tools. So from your perspective, do you believe all associations should follow this trend in using a software for event management? So Lisa, I want to hear your perspective first.
So using this software has been actually amazing. I mean, this has been the most efficient we've ever been with holding conferences, tracking our members. I can't get enough. How do I say this? No, I'm hearing so many amazing things from our members about using the software that I can't see not using it anymore. And so I think that it honestly, my personal opinion, I believe everyone should have something like Hoover. I mean, it just makes everything so much easier, and it saves time, it's safe, reliable.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Lisa. And then I'm going to turn here to Diana to say, see what you think.
Well, I've been in my position for 18 years. So in terms of event management software, there has been dramatic changes in that area. And I remember when mobile apps first came on board, they were mainly just a electronic agenda. So the improvements and the robustness that have come with things like Hoover have made life simpler and simpler as the years have gone on. We used Hoover for the first time for this year. Well, actually, we've used it twice now. But for me, there's so many aspects that streamline and make my life a little bit easier. I usually deal with member presenters, anywhere from 60 to 80 different people. And as you can all imagine, it can be very difficult to track down all the information you need when it comes to photos and bios and everything. And Hoover Speaker Center has been amazing, where I can put it in there and send out all the reminders through there, and then those presenters are able to log in and upload all that themselves, which gives me some of my time back in the day to do other important aspects of the job. Because back in the day, it was waiting to get those pictures and those bios from everybody, and then 4 or 5, sometimes more emails, and then having to upload all that yourself. So it's just been huge time saver. The surveys, just having everything together for that conference. Our members have loved it, to be able to add things to their own agenda, to be able to make connections with our exhibitors and their fellow members beforehand. Our members are very social. They are almost like family. So it's not just an educational conference, but they look forward to this to catch up with their friends. And I think we probably broke records with our engagement that we had on the app in Chicago, which was our first year back this year at more normal numbers for the annual conference. So people were getting groups together on professional levels, on personal levels, and for us as staff, it was just so hard to keep up with all the conversations. But it's great that they have that ability to do that and make those connections and find ride shares from the airports and know when people are getting in when. So yeah, it's definitely been a wonderful thing, in addition, for both sides of the coin, with members and staff, to have a good, robust app like that during those events.
So thank you so much for sharing here, Diana. It's great to hear how it's improved the event experience within your association. And then Blake, I am going to also ask you to see if you also have a different point of view or an additional take within this question.
I would say additional take. We've been using, I think we've been, using Hoover from, I think it was fairly new when we started, when we became a customer. And so we've really seen the app evolve over the past couple of years in some really incredible ways. It's funny, when preparing for this, as I started to think about how we've been using Hoover as an event app, it's almost incredible, like how wonderful it's been for us. Just the, it originally was this way to kind of supplement the printed agenda, but it's become so much more than that. It manages all of the attendees. We're now using it, for printing badges. We're doing it for our event, for session surveys and event surveys. It is an online, it's a collaboration tool for attendees, whether it's, again, like people are just putting together like groups that want to chat about something, or ride shares, or going out to dinner. We post photos. It's really the speaker center, exhibitors. It just kind of covers everything. And during the pandemic, as it expanded, as we started doing some more webinars, it integrated really well with Zoom, so that we were able to deliver this, kind of, nicely prepared and presented, experience, meeting experience in this virtual way that we'd never, everyone's just figuring out how to even do this. But it really worked well. And now that Whova has this kind of dedicated web component to have your entire event, it's just, again, we're using that now instead of what the event component that was built in our AMS. It's, in fact, it's much more robust. Yeah, I mean, it's like we couldn't be happier for, it's one of those things where it offered so much that it allowed us to start asking, what else can we do to make this more engaging for our members? And there was a tool there that we could try and use, and it's easy to experiment with things and see what we get instant feedback from our members. And also, as I'd mentioned before, with like the importance of partnering, I think we've felt that anytime we had like product suggestions, or we didn't know how to do something, it was really easy to just get in touch with and get in a phone call quickly or an email, and we've been very pleased with how responsive Whova's been to our suggestions, or again helping us with support on something we couldn't figure out if we wanted the app to be able to do. So it's really just I think it's been, I couldn't imagine not having an event now without having an app like this.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that, Blake, here. And now that we kind of covered a little bit of your take on using an event management software tool, I also want to ask you all about how an event software tool can help you reduce costs by making your association more cost efficient when running an event. So what are tips that you have for leveraging these features to achieve cost savings? So I know you're all using Whova, so I just kind of want to probably ask you all how that has helped you in saving some costs. So Blake, I'll start with you first.
Sure. So, I mean, cost savings were, across the board. We used to do our session surveys. We actually would lay these things out as cards, and we had them photocopied in different colors, and it's this whole process. So there's the expense of having them produced, the expense of shipping them, the cost of shipping programs, the cost of shipping handouts, name badges. All of that is been eliminated because it's all integrated in the app. Printing costs have gone down considerably because, again, we're not printing the amount of materials. We don't ship publications that we used to. So it's been, it's absolutely been a huge cost saver. And we don't, we're still producing, we're still printing an on-site program. I don't know if we'll ever get away from that. We kind of were hoping that we would, but I think there's still, people still want to have that paper in there, and they still want to mark it up and just carry it around. But it's still, we don't produce as many. And again, it's still just, it's one item to ship instead of like, 10 or 12 different things. So it's definitely been much more cost effective moving this way. And none of our members have missed the paper in that sense, or complain that they want paper handouts, other than, like I said, the agenda.
Thank you for that and your take here, Blake. And then Lisa, I'm going to also ask you as well, do you have any tips to leveraging some of those Whova features to achieve cost savings?
Yes, so my favorite part was having the program uploaded for me. I mean, there's a big happy smile on my face. It was phenomenal. It was such a huge help, especially when the time crunch in the last 2 weeks before the event. So I did end up ordering hard copies of programs because some people do like those. For 400 attendees, I ended up ordering 200 programs. It was $1,200 plus the conference being in San Diego, me being in Massachusetts. I had them shipped from Staples here in Massachusetts, and it was $300 in shipping. So next conference, actually I should say the table. So the table at the end of the conference, we still had half the programs left. So our next conference, I'm going to order even less because some people like to have a hard copy. But the best part was just having that program already set up for us. It saved so much time, super cost efficient, and it was just it's a great feature of having Hova.
Thank you for sharing a little bit about that, Lisa, and how it's helped you in saving some of their costs regarding printing. And then Diana, I also want to ask you as well if you have any other tips to leveraging some of those features to achieve some more cost savings within your event planning.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as both Lisa and Blake have mentioned, the printing costs have gone down dramatically. I have been lucky enough, I have gone 100% to the app for the program for our conferences. It was something I had to slowly do to get everybody off of the hard copy print, but we have let our members know they can go onto the website and print from that if they absolutely need something, but I really do not see people even doing that anymore. So sustainability has always been a huge issue for us, for our members as well as our association. So when our first year of not printing any programming material or surveys was a very exciting day for me. It saves on shipping and everything else. Also, all of the time savings with Hova, being able to have that as the website for the event. If we have to make a change to the schedule, it's changed everywhere. We don't have to go to our website, to our separate event area to make sure that got changed as well as in the app. So just knowing one change and it's done everywhere. I mentioned the speaker center, the exhibitor center. I mean, time is money, and all that time savings has been huge for sure.
Great, thank you for that here, Diana. So it looks like you are a proof that you can go 100% digital within your agenda. So hopefully for Blake and Lisa that is also possible, but it might take some time. So thank you so much for sharing here. And to close the panel discussion, my final question here for you all is, do you have any recommendations for software tools that can assist you with other association operations, such as learn management systems, email marketing, certification tools, or other relevant areas? I know we kind of covered that in our panel discussion, but I want to go a little bit in depth and let our audience have some of those recommendations. So Diana, do you want to go ahead and start first?
Sure. I work with many volunteer committees for my job, whether it's for awards, for education, for the certification. So simple tools like Doodle or When is Good is amazing to be able to determine a best meeting time for everybody. Sign Up Genius is something that I rely heavily on on-site volunteers to help us at registration, hospitality, the moderators for our roundtables. So be able to have a sign-up sheet that's online in real time where our folks can go in and volunteer for different slots has made life a lot simpler than the emails back and forth with an Excel sheet, which is how I used to have to do it way back when. So those are just some, simple softwares out there that have made life a lot simpler. Personally, TripIt is one of my favorites, where I can send in all of my confirmations for hotels, flights, and keep track of all of my itineraries for all of the trips I have coming up, and keep me on track and not have to open up each individual app to find information I need. I just have the one place that has everything: confirmation numbers, check-ins, times, everything. So those for for me personally and professionally have really helped streamline my day-to-day work.
Great, thank you for that here. And then Blake, do you have any other recommendations of software tools that you use within your association?
Sure. So we, to a lesser extent, we use FormStack for certain, not as much anymore, but like maybe like our board elections, you know, for anything that we need to, and actually as a way for our affiliate members to provide us with some descriptions and things that we use to promote our affiliates, like their logos and product descriptions, things like that. We have like ways for them to submit all that through FormStack. We use SurveyMonkey both for members surveys and also for like if we're doing like some policy analysis, we want to survey the industry on particular issues. We found, you know, that's, you know, it's a great tool. And in addition, I serve on some committees at ASAE and some other volunteer groups, and use Slack a lot, and find that's a really great. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it's you know, it really does. It does what it does well, and so definitely made use of Slack. So those are three, I think, you know, sort of third-party tools that you know are used, you know, to a lesser extent, but still are nice supplemental things that we can rely on when we need them.
Great, thank you for sharing your recommendations to Blake. And I see that we're a little off our schedule here. It's already 5 minutes past the hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up our event insider session. Lisa, Blake, and Diana, thank you again for joining us today as our panelists. We appreciate you all for sharing your insight with us. I know I got some great takeaways from your advice, and I'm sure the audience did as well. So to our audience, I want to thank you all for tuning in here and participating in our session. It was a pleasure hosting this session, and I hope you had a great time learning from our guest speakers as well as much as I did. I want to thank everyone again for attending our session, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.